You may have wondered why I began this particular assignment with all things bright and beautiful. Maybe you understand a little bit better now um, that that song, that hymn, especially the last lines, really talk about how nature teaches us. And so the last the last meditation does that as well. Um, so the assignment has to do with nature, has to do with the environment. These are ethical issues, and they are real. And so what basically what I want you to do is write an editorial to a local paper, and the instructions are there. You've basically been asked to write a Christian, not necessarily a response, but to contextualize some concerns over development of a state park, water issues, um, uh, contextualize that for the paper's readers. You are one of several religious voices, but you are the only Christian voice. So I've got the context of this very real situation. It's being debated right now in Colorado, in Denver. Those of you who are in the area will know Chatfield Reservoir. You may have vacationed there or gone there for whatever kind of recreational purposes. One of the largest state parks in the state, most visited. And the controversy is over whether to increase the level of the reservoir to provide for the increasing needs of the population of the Denver metropolitan area. Of course, the problem with that is that it inundates habitat for some protected species, but also changes a lot of other things that have to do with recreation and all of that. It's a very, very thorny issue. And I don't expect you to come up with a resolution. But what I'm inviting you to do is to bring your Anglican ethical reasoning powers to bear on this. And so I've given you several resources down below that talk about the issue in and of itself. There's one interview just on Colorado water issues. Now, I recognize that not all of you are in Colorado, but the fellow that the interviewer is talking with says that this is really an issue in the West. So those of you in Wyoming, those of you in Utah or Arizona, these are your issues as well. We have limited water resources in the Intermountain West. And so how do all of these things fit? And how do we make sense of them, given competing demands? How do we make sense of them, given our Anglican conception of creation teaching us? What is creation teaching us? What are our responsibilities as stewards? What are our responsibilities to our grandchildren, to our children? Not only in terms of providing enough water, but in terms of providing the places where animals can survive and live and thrive, and where we and they can go and enjoy the fruits of God's creation. So it's a thorny issue. I don't expect a great groundswell of solutions. But so I'm not asking you to necessarily come up with a solution. I think we should do this. But I'm asking you to provide an Anglican way of thinking about it that may be different than, let's say, a very fundamentalist way that say, oh, who cares? We're all going to die. We're all going, that's all going to happen. So it doesn't make any difference anyway. And the animals, well, they don't have souls. I mean, you could think of all sorts of theological ways of framing this that you might not agree with. How would you frame, put some constraints, put this in a bowl, in an Anglican bowl, so that we can talk about it? I know that that's kind of vague, but that's one of the issues with large-scale ethical problems. Is we do think about environmental things, and you can do some research on that if you want. On Anglican environmental ethics, you can Google that and see what you find out. Or you may have enough resources at hand during your own experience. Speaking of resources, I did want to mention several. Certainly, Googling Anglican moral theology will provide you with a lot of good information. I have done that. There's the Westminster Dictionary of Christian Ethics that has a chapter on ethics and moral theology and Anglican moral theology. The book in the Church's Teaching series, Ethics After Easter, by Stephen Holmgren, is a good introduction to Anglican ethics. And then a book that you probably wouldn't run into as quickly is called The Spirit of Anglicanism, edited by William Wolfe and Dr. Owen Thomas and William Booty. This book is now about 35 years old, but has detailed chapters on William Temple and Frederick Denison Maurice and Hooker. And then at the end, there's a really, really wonderful chapter, a summary on the spirit of Anglicanism. And I think that really helps, in general, helps us think through, or help me understand a lot of the bits and pieces that make up Anglican thinking in terms of ethics. And does a good job of referring to all of the various bits that I talked about, creation in Scripture, but also the Anglican tripod with the addition of experience. So please let me know if you have any questions on how to approach this assignment. It is due on Wednesday the 30th, not on Tuesday. I'll give you extra time, not only because you've got a little bit more to incorporate, but also because of the change in the way that we're thinking about this. And then, just as a heads up, the discussion piece will follow from what you have written. And so be prepared, and I'll explain this in the introduction to the discussion. Be prepared to distill your editorial into several sentences. What is the point? And then also be prepared to ask some questions that other people might respond to. Do you think this is a strong argument? Or I really needed more information here. Does your Patronus have something to say about that? And certainly, as you write your editorial, you might refer to your Patronus in one way or another. Have him or her inform what it is that you have to say. And let's see, there was one other thing. I can't remember. So that's what we will do with the discussion piece. Is I will upload, I will download and then re-upload all of your submissions to a file, and so that if somebody wants to go back, if you raise a question and say, in my editorial, this is what I argued, if somebody wants to go back and look at your editorial, they can do that. There will be no grade or no comments. It'll just be out there for other people to see. So, and there won't be any evaluation. This isn't a peer evaluation set. The other thing I wanted to say is if you've never written an editorial, I've provided a link that I use with other students. Say this is what an editorial looks like. These are the kinds of things that it might contain. So again, if you have any questions, any concerns about how this is going to work, please let me know as soon as possible. Don't send me in a paper and say, I didn't know what I was doing. Ask ahead of time, and we'll see if we can get it worked out. So have fun.